If you do any prospecting with LinkedIn, you have got to go get set up with Surf. That's SURFE. It's a tool you can use to add new contacts to your CRM system directly from LinkedIn in seconds. I'm using it every single day. I add contacts, follow my deals, keep track of notes, and it ends up saving me a bunch of time on prospecting and outreach, which means I can spend more time moving my deals along. The data is always 100% accurate since I don't have to copy and paste all the fields over from each and every contact that I want to put in my CRM. Instead, Surf does that all automatically with just one click in about 60 seconds. The team over at Surf has put together a very special offer for fans of sales players. There's a link down in the show notes, and you can use the promo code JWSurf5. Don't forget the E at the end of Surf. That's JWSurf5 for 5% off your first year. Don't spend another minute doing things manually. Go get set up with Surf. Hey everybody, my guest today is Amanda Jones. Now, Amanda is a friend of mine of over 10 years, one of the first colleagues that I connected with in the software industry, and frankly, one of the best software sellers that I've ever worked alongside. She was also the first guest on my podcast. And I wanted to bring her back on the show to catch up on what she's working on right now. She actually recently launched a sales consulting business. And then the other topic we covered today was how to break into some of these high growth, high opportunity software companies as a seller. Amanda has worked at Chorus and Full Story and Outreach and some of the other very fast growth software startups out there and software companies out there. So I wanted to get her thoughts on how to approach those opportunities, how to network with the right people, whether that's recruiters or the hiring manager. We also covered some of the skills that it takes to launch your own consultancy and what some of the most important skills are today in modern selling. So with all of that, welcome, Amanda.
How's it going?
Good. I was telling you off air that we should catch up more offline, off air, but somehow the last time I talked to you was also on the podcast.
It was.
But such is life. So first of all, just to fill everybody in who's listening, Amanda Jones was my first guest on the podcast over a year ago now. And I wanted to bring her back on to do sort of a catch up. How, where are they now a year later in the career and what she's up to. She's putting together something pretty exciting. So I want to, I guess, Mandy, maybe tell us, and by the way, I call her Mandy, but tell us what you're working on right now and kind of what the last year had in store. And just as another refresher, her episode was the How to Ramp 80% Faster, which has been my most popular episode. And obviously a topic that is of very high interest to sellers is how to speed up their ramp time. But now that I've gotten all that out, tell us what you're working on. Maybe tell us what the last year had in store and share with us the big news.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm so excited, Jesse, that you and I can connect again. It's so crazy. I felt like this past year went so fast. For me, obviously I was at Chorus. And while I was at Chorus, a couple of my buddies actually were over at a consulting firm that I'm a contractor with, Grisher Consulting.
Mm-hmm.
And they reached out to me and said, hey, we need, some more contractors. Do you want to, like side hustle, do some consulting, especially since a lot of our clients are outreach users and working for outreach. And the fact that I have a lot of experience with call intelligence, which I'm a big supporter of. I think it's so critical to record your calls and see the value. They wanted to also have me get on board to help a lot of the clients more on the cold calling side, since I've definitely mastered that, especially when it comes to prospecting, as you can understand back in our Smarter HQ days, Jesse.
Yep.
And so I started consulting for them. And lo and behold, I loved it. I felt that it was definitely my calling. I felt like it was definitely something that I could see myself doing full time. And so after doing that for a year, then I started getting my own clients just through connections and even people I've personally sold to who've reached out to me that, just wanted help with their sales processes or sales strategies. Even to be, I call a sales therapist, to be a soundboard, especially from leaders, to make sure, am I doing the right thing? Am I encouraging my employees in the right way? Is this the right sales process to follow? Things like that. And so I actually decided to go ahead and quit corporate America.
Wow.
And as scary and exciting it was in the very beginning, this has been the best decision of my life. I have been doing it now full time for a month and a half. And my business is called Amanda Diane Consulting. You can find me at the website amandadianeconsulting.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. If you look up Amanda Jones and search for Amanda Diane Consulting, you should be able to find me there. Of course, I can also give you
Yeah.
the links, Jesse, if people want to follow.
Yeah.
And really what I uncover, which is so exciting about this space, I'm such a big, I just love sales engagement. I love sales process, sales strategy, because I feel like, especially the clients that I'm helping, when they uncover a really solid strategy that they want to implement and seeing the fruits of the labor, come
Hmm.
out for them, it's really, really awesome. And so I love, being that creator and helping them. So I decided to focus on two main things for my business, and what I, take away, I think, is the best areas for this space right now.
Hmm.
One is there's just such a strong need of contract sellers, like freelance sellers. I mean, how great would it be to just go work with a bunch of really awesome startups where you're just maybe doing some part-time for them, helping them to close, helping them build process. So I do offer that for a couple clients, and I love it. I really do see these clients as long term, and I've been building really great relationships with them. I actually can't imagine not working with them, so that's really
Right.
exciting. And then the second big piece, which is what I do a lot of more one-time projects for, is doing sales process and sales strategies. So, if you're someone that doesn't know what that is, you're like, well, what do you mean by that? It's, building out, in terms of, are you using the right technology? What best technology do you need to implement to do the job in the most effective and efficient way? And then also really powerful content, what's going to drive that value to the customer, and being an
Hmm.
omni-channel approach. I'm very big on, you got to do LinkedIn, cold call, and email. And so
Yeah.
those are my two big offerings, and there's definitely a need in the market. And if you're ever, even, doesn't matter what business, and those are listening, if you're ever contemplating, say you're side hustling something and you're thinking, maybe I can do this, just go and do it. I always say the worst thing that can happen is it doesn't work out. And I have that mindset. I go, if it doesn't work out, I've been in SaaS sales my whole career. I've been extremely successful. Jesse and I obviously personally worked at many companies together, and he's seen
Yeah.
me, win VIP trips and be at the top of the leaderboard.
Hmm.
I could always go back, right? But then I learned from another entrepreneur, by the way, which, Jesse, you met her. She's now a private chef, and she owns her chef
Oh,
business. It's my
interesting.
friend Ashley.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
has been booming with her business because, again, she just offers really great offerings to her customers. She told me, Mandy, get out of that mindset. Do not say worst case, like, oh, I'll just go back. So, to listeners, it's like, if you have the drive, just go ahead and just go after it. And don't look back. Because I'm thinking to myself, my gosh, I wish I started this a year ago. But then also my mindset too is, when I think about that, is this was the right timing to do it. Because if
Hmm.
you think about the career I've had, I have 15 plus years sales experience. I've worked for a variety of SaaS startups, ones that, a couple of them, one got bought out by Zoom Info when I was at Chorus. Another one, I'm pretty sure Outreach at some time, like I would hope that they would go public. So for me, I've worked a lot of high growth startups, and
Hmm.
with that came a lot of talent out of that, like understanding
Yeah.
what are the best processes, what are the strategies. Because if you think about what I used to sell, I sold to sales teams. So I feel
Hmm.
like this was the good timing for me, but I'm so excited.
So, question for you. So, you know, launching a consulting business, and I know you've been in the sales engagement and sales enablement technology space for a while. How did you go about, just for anyone out there who's listening, who's considered starting either a consulting company or being self-employed in some way? How did you go about finding that first customer? It sounds like it came from your personal network, or
Mhm.
perhaps it was someone that you sold technology to before. But I guess tell us how that all fell into place, and you don't have to share who it is, but maybe how you had that first conversation around what you charge for your services and what it's going to, what the scope of work is and some of those things. Cause I think one of the hardest things about launching a consulting business or any sort of startup or software company or anything like that is all of these questions, what do we provide? What's the specifics of the service? And I think a lot of people overthink it. and they don't realize, and, I, of course, as well have learned this working in very early startups that, typically you have to figure these things out as you go. And it may happen after the first sales conversation. There may be, you land a contract and then you go in and scope out the work. But tell us, for specifically your, consulting firm, how'd you land that first customer?
Yeah, so I actually, when I was working full time for another company, it was actually one of the freelancers, and he has a bunch of businesses that he's involved in. And he also would continue to give me really good pointers on like how to get involved in business, and because he's worked with a lot of startups as well, so we just had a lot in common. And more importantly, we just loved working together. We just really
Yeah.
connected. So I asked him, I just asked, I was like, hey, I'm open to being a sales rep for your businesses, and I can definitely help build out a really successful strategy that will guarantee meetings. I'll guarantee getting your cycling product into bike shops. Was one of his businesses.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts? And he got with his business partners and he said, look, Amanda has been doing nothing but impressing me throughout this whole process when I have been working with her. Let's just take her on board. And so I started with an hourly engagement. I
Got it.
think, it's always best to start there. The reason you want to start with an hourly engagement as a consultant, and because you're going to be scoping out the work. One product I use, I love it. It's called Toggle Track. My
Hmm.
in-laws actually are software engineer consultants, and they've been doing this for 30 years.
Huh.
So it was nice because when I was thinking about going on my own, I actually went to Colorado. We spent a few weeks with them since we're both remote, me and my husband. And I
Yeah.
asked her, I said, hey, as a consultant, like what tools do you use? So that's the one thing, people, you need to go into your network and go talk to the people that are doing something that you want to do or considering, to understand the tools that they're used. How do they own their day? Like ask them the
Yeah.
questions. And I was asking her just all over the place, like taxes, which I probably should speak to a CPA for that one, which I am.
Yeah.
And she recommended Toggle Track. So what I recommend is getting an Excel sheet with your clients. Of course, to get your client, you have to ask, reach out to your network. And that's all I did.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I got a new client just this past week. I'm so excited for this one. They were a previous partner of mine when I was at Full Story. They were the
Sure.
best people to work with. And when I was thinking in my head, much like you would if you're thinking about looking for a new job, like what are the companies you want to work for? I then get another Excel sheet because I'm very type A personality. And I said to
Mm-hmm.
myself, okay, who do I want as a client? Like instead of just
Ah.
going on Upwork, like who would I like? And my gosh, did I write that digital consulting firm from Portland on there? I said, I'm going to text John and I let him know, hey, heads up, I just launched my business.
Nice.
I loved working with you all. What do you think about me coming on part-time as a sales rep for you? In this case, we're going to do more STR work together. And then I'm going to also help them. I'm going to consult them on their current sales strategies, like when they're closing, like listening on calls and just, see maybe some things that they might be missing. So it's a little bit more than SDR work. Like my statements of work are definitely very customizable.
Mm-hmm.
And what
Mm-hmm.
was crazy is I feel like this is manifesting the energy, which you should always do as well. I'm a big believer in that. Just go after
Right.
it. That's why I had this on my desk. Yes, you can. um, so which helped me a lot in the very beginning because I was nervous, of course, but that went
Yeah.
away very quickly because there's definitely a need in this market. So he had responded right away, perfect timing. So it's things like that where, make your list, but then execute on it. Because if you wait, you never know if maybe they would have hired someone right 2 months from now. And because I did hourly to answer that question, like how you like
Mm-hmm.
go about it, I think going forward, it is best when you're a consultant to do more fix, but you need to make sure you don't overwork yourself or do a fixed amount and then you're putting more hours in and then your hourly's way down. That's why I
Yeah.
like the toggle track because I'm tracking every single client.
So really quickly on the Toggle Track, is it like a cloud-based software, or is
Mhm.
it and
It's
how much is
free.
it? Oh, it's free. Okay, I was
It's
gonna ask how much it
free.
costs.
Yeah, it's
And is
awesome.
it
So
is it like a project management tool or a planner or both? Yeah, walk us through. I mean, just how you use it, how you have it implemented, and some, I guess, use cases for how someone who's launching something or even managing their just book of business in their sales
mhm.
job could use Toggle Track.
Yeah, so for Toggle Track, like how I use it, like I haven't really dug deep into all of their options, but it's a free product. It has a Google Chrome extension, which I love. That's why I
Oh,
have
I
my
do.
outreach
Yeah.
everywhere. I'm obsessed
Yep.
with Google Chrome extensions. I've seen similar web, like all that.
Yep.
And so what's great about it is I can, with the Google Chrome little button, is all you do is you press it and then you write what you're working on and you press play. Now for me, obviously I have a couple clients, right? And again, I'm being very diligent about tracking my time because I want to make sure this is part of being an entrepreneur is, did I price this really right? Am I working way more than expected? Things like that. So say if I work on, client A, at which I was from 9 to 10 a.m. this morning before our call, I'll click the, play button, write the client. Then guess what? I'm going to go back to that client after this call because I want to continue to do work for them. And all I do is they has like a little play button next to that client. I could press play and it continuously tracks throughout the day. So instead of doing all these, list of different people, you can go back into each project and make sure that you're getting the exact hours each day. And I love it because it really does show me that, me being part-time for one client, I am producing full-time work, like,
Yeah.
because we're looking at my results, right, towards that. So I think if you were in sales and maybe you're not doing consulting, I think that it can help organize and manage your day a little bit better. Like if you really are struggling with that, where you block out your calendar, you could press the, play button, say prospecting, right? Or checking in with clients. And then you can start seeing like, hey, I'm really effective with prospecting. I
Hmm.
only really need to do it 2 hours a day to get this many results. So I think for, a seller in general that you might really enjoy, and again, it's free. So
Yeah.
it's spelled TOGGL and then track.
Oh, toggle.
Um,
Okay. They hold
yeah,
the E off.
they hold the E off. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So what skills, okay, actually, let me back up a little bit. So the last time we talked for the first episode of the show, the episode was how to ramp 80% faster. And you walked us through some of the things that you do when you come into a new software company and ramp really quickly. So I imagine right now working with new clients, having, being basically a freelance sales professional on the team, whether that's, operations or actually going and doing the sales work, you obviously have to ramp pretty quickly. I'd imagine coming in as a consultant, you've got to deliver some result in some amount of time. And maybe that's something you establish with the customer. Maybe it's not. But I'm curious, what are some of the things that you're doing right now to very quickly come in and deliver some tangible result to your clients right away? And I think where I'm going with this question is I think the listeners out there who are in a selling role, not necessarily a consulting role, but they're in a contributor selling role, might be able to take away some of your tips and tricks around again coming in, figuring out a new business very quickly, and then hitting the ground running and going and driving towards that first result. So tell us some of the things that you've done with clients to move very quickly in your quote unquote ramp or result deliverables.
Yeah. So in terms of like the consulting side, what I've done is, yes, I ramp incredibly quickly with my customers. And the reason it kind of goes back to my statement before, I have 15 years experience, so it's easy for
Mm-hmm.
me to just go in and go after it. I, make mistakes, obviously, like any human being would. And for me, I'm just not afraid anymore of making mistakes. And of course, being in sales, I am not afraid of rejections. I just keep going, going, going. So the expectation with my clients is, and the clients I pick, is they all have to have a strategy in their mind of what they want to implement. If they come to me and they're like, well, I don't even know where to start, that's where it can get really challenging because it's also a mindset of, okay, have you done a market research? Like, do you know like who you want to target? To be honest, at this point, that's probably not a good client fit for me if you don't really know
Right.
like where to start. Now, if you know I'm selling to law firms, I offer this continuing education product, that's the strategy, right? Like, great, then let's get the right tools in place. For me,
Mm-hmm.
I actually require my clients, especially the fixed rate ones that want me, as an SDR, maybe I do some closing, some sales process. I actually build out a blueprint sales strategy for them, and it goes through different buckets. We talk about the technology they should have, the type
Yeah.
of content and sequences we should do, and then what does the next 30, 60, 90 days look like? And for me, for technology, I have found I ramp the fastest when I have outreach. Shout out to
Mhm.
outreach being the most powerful product out there. I'm a robust user. I obviously
Yeah.
used to work for them. I've
Yep.
consulted for them. I've done
Sure.
everything with them. So yes, I'm a high like value user of theirs. Like again, I understand the ins and outs of that platform. I can even implement it and set it up, which by the way is something I offer as well. And for me, what I do is I tell them, okay, you need seamless AI. I think Seamless AI is one of the best lead gen products out there. I
Mhm.
barely have bounces. I love how
Yeah.
it, again, integrates with my sales navigator. And I can
Mhm.
just press a
Yeah, that
button
is
and build
nice.
out quick lists, which is pretty powerful. And then I just put it into outreach. And so to conclude, what I tell clients is saying, hey, in order for me to hit the ground running, because we can definitely build out the content with you of the value prop, I need outreach and I need seamless. I already have sales navigator. That's it.
Yeah.
I just need
Yeah.
that, and I've been producing results. And each client, I have averaged at least 3 to 5 meetings a week. The cycling product, I was 4 for 4 in cold calls. So now I'm cold
Nice.
calling heavily for them, and his mind is blown right now. He's thinking, what the heck? Like I call and they don't want anything to do with me, and then you call and they're like, sure, I'll have a sample. So again, they use outreach and they use seamless. So I feel like we
Right.
were able to hit the ground running because they gave me a product that allowed me to do my job effectively. So,
So this resonates because I think a big part of being successful, especially early on in a sales role, is having the right technology in place,
yep.
having the right data. That's one that
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people overlook, and you're touching on it here with Seamless. Having a good data source, and you and I have both been in companies that did not have lead gen databases for us, so we had to go out and guess people's email addresses or find other channels, and of course pick up the phone a lot more than folks have to today. But I think you're hitting on something really important, which is having the right technology, having a lead database or a way to get your contacts pulled in very quickly. And then of course LinkedIn is a superpower. It's a tool that can really get you a good view of the org chart and who's who, and using that in tandem with these other tools is a real game changer. Awesome. Tell us, do you ever do any sort of like pay for performance with your clients, or like, do you guarantee your success at all? How does that work? And again, the questions coming, partially to kind of help listeners who might be in a role where they're in an early scrappy startup and someone asks for some guarantee of results. How do you handle that conversation? And is that something you'd ever offer?
Yeah. So I think because I'm so early on to really know the type of results, because I am averaging at least with every client 3 to 5, meetings a week. And then of course, some clients I close those. Others I'm just an SDR who, might down the road close for them. So I'm
Yeah.
definitely, kind of jack of all trades when it comes to sales. So at this point, I don't guarantee. And the reason I don't like the guarantee is because every industry is different. I'm not today with Amanda Diane Consulting. I have a variety of clients that are from a variety of industries. So say if I was only targeting SaaS start to say, all right, I have a guarantee of 3 to 5 meetings a week I will give you, and in turn, at least 25% of that will close. And that's just, common industry data for
Right.
sales. So I don't do it at the moment just because of the variety of industries. However, I do see down the road, especially when it comes to building out, sales process, playbooks that I have done before that I'm currently doing. Once I start getting more of those and seeing the results with my clients through implementing that playbook, I think that it would be a lot easier to use the data to say, hey,
Right.
generally I can see this. I don't know if I would ever feel comfortable doing a guarantee because you and I know in the SaaS world, there's some startups that their product just does not resonate. No one wants
Yeah.
it,
Yep.
and it's very hard to sell it. And I would hate to, guarantee with a client like that where it's like, look, it's just not a market fit. Like I don't know what else to, it's just not working.
Yeah.
But for me, in terms of how I lay out a statement of work, is they give me a fixed amount. This is most of my statements of work, and then again, it's customizable. I let the client tell me, what would you like to give me for commission? Because
Hmm.
at the end of the day, I think of long-term clients. Like I met this guy in Upwork. He was phenomenal. He owns a marketing analysis business, and all I'm doing for him is email campaigns. And I was really excited about that because that's such an easy thing for me to do and implement. I can do it really fast and be really effective. him and I kept harping on each other the same like messaging, which is, I want you to be a long-term client. And him and I are more in the mindset of like, we're not here to do guarantees. It's more about, I'm going to produce results for you. And therefore we're going to continue to be long-term clients. Cause like I said, the clients I have right now, I love them. Like I
Yeah.
can see myself, sending them Christmas gifts. I can see, holiday
Yeah.
gifts. I can see them, maybe I go up to New York to see one of them, right? Like with my husband, and we do the whole New York City thing. Then I go have a nice
Sure.
dinner with them. So I want that life in the future with my long-term clients. So I think, especially when you do this, I think it gets a little rocky if you do some type of guarantee, but I
Yeah.
think you should talk about your results. And here's the reality, like I'm telling you the results I'm getting for my clients, and they're all from different industries. Like, I guess, yeah, I could say that's a guarantee, but I just prefer
Yeah.
not to do that, because then at the day they're getting a very sophisticated salesperson that brings sales enablement, uh, you know, sales operations, SDR, enterprise AE, mid-size AE, SMB AE. Like I'm literally all
Yeah.
of that. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but if you were to hire all of that, I mean, it would be $1 million in salary. So I just feel like, I definitely bring a lot to the table, and that's what my clients are looking at more than a guarantee. And actually, no
Yeah.
one's actually asked me for a guarantee,
Uh,
which is, they're probably in the
That's
same mindset
a
as.
that's a great pitch when you're talking, hey, look, in terms of headcount, I'm able to be a force multiplier, and I'm going to cost a lot less than hiring even 3 reps and an SDR, four total headcount. And
Oh
to your
yeah.
point, $1 million in annual salary headcount and fully burdened salaries. Very interesting. I want to shift gears really quickly. We've got kind of a short one today, but I wanted to ask you a couple of other questions that I think the audience will really appreciate. One is something that I admire a lot about your career is that you've managed to land at some of the hottest companies in, previously in your career, you landed at some of the hottest companies in SaaS, in the scene, Outreach, Full Story, Chorus AI, and many others. So I think the audience, I get a lot of questions from listeners about how to, break into some of those very, very fast moving unicorn SaaS companies. And again, you've done that multiple times now over and over again. So you obviously have some secret sauce, if you will, or you have some trick to, maybe it's not a trick, but you're doing something right, is I guess what I'm getting at here. Tell us a little bit about, how someone might go about getting a role at one of those top SaaS growth companies in the industry.
So I would recommend 2 different ways to go. I was, I guess, just have a really good LinkedIn. And for each of those companies, the recruiter did personally reach out to me. However, when I was laid off due to COVID, I did the same thing, much like I do with my clients, where I said, hey, these are clients I would love to work for. I'm going to, definitely start reaching out to them. I did the same thing with companies I wanted to work for. And
Yeah.
so I did this approach a little bit differently, because obviously during that time, yeah, recruiters were hitting us up. We all experienced that in 2020. It was just not a good year all around. And so what I recommend is, and I tell this to a lot of my colleagues who will reach out to me, and I'm more than happy, by the way, if you want me to like quickly look at your LinkedIn or give you some tips on it, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I know that a couple listeners, Jesse, from your podcast have personally
Yep.
reached out to me, and I'm more than happy to help you all, because sometimes it just takes that third party, right, to like show you and open up your eyes to maybe some things you didn't consider. Because I know that there's been people in my network that have done that for me, and it proved
Yeah.
really good results. What I recommend to do, make your list and go hit up the recruiters of those companies. Now, recruiters accept your connections because they're always looking for leads and people to fill roles. Like they're
Right.
just salespeople in general as well. So I would recommend to connect with them and then send a message. But in that message, you need to write, hey, I saw this role, like say it's a growth role at Outreach. And I, see that you're looking for this type of, blah, 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 blah in the job description. This is how I can bring value to Outreach. This is the common value that you would see from me, maybe like if it was an SDR role, for example, I'd say like, hey, on average, I am getting 3 to 5 meetings a week. I would love to do that for Outreach. Then ask for their time. So think about it from a sales perspective. When you reach out to a prospect, you're writing the value prop, like what you can offer, to why it matters to them, because it's always got to be them, not you. And then also, you give your proof points of your background, and from there, you are closing it, right? Which you, by the
Right.
way, you should do on every interview. These SaaS companies, they're
Yep.
expecting you to close on every interview, meaning at the end of the interview, you say, this was a great
Yeah.
conversation. So yeah, are you
What
going
would
to move
stop
me
us from
forward?
moving forward? Yeah. Is
Yes,
this aligned
exactly.
with your
That is so critical.
expectations?
Yep.
Yep.
So I would
Yeah.
recommend doing that, but I do have a second part to that, which I would also recommend. So say maybe a recruiter in this company has reached out to you, or you can't get in touch with them. You should go to the leaders. I have to say that there has been many times. I remember one of the head of sales at Full Story would say this, that the new one they had hired on when I started, he said, oh yeah, I'm interviewing this person. They reached out to me personally on LinkedIn. He loved that. Again, you need
Yeah.
to hard close the VP of sales and say, this is how I can bring value to you. Because at the end of the day, they have they have their own bag that they have to carry, and they want to be successful, and being able to show that and have some type of proof points is great. And get people the right recommendations for you on LinkedIn. If you go to my LinkedIn, look below, there's tons in there. I have everywhere.
Yep.
I mean, Jesse, you wrote me one, I think, way back when we were at Volusion. So build
Yeah.
that up, because there's been many times I've had new clients who have booked me now that they say the reason I took your interview here, because I was doing some work on Upwork, is because I went to your LinkedIn, I saw all your reviews of people working with you, and I said, I want to work with her. So that's
Yeah.
why it really can,
Wow.
that those reviews can come full circle for you, that can prove, obviously more revenue in your pocket.
I love the offer that please reach out to Amanda and
Absolutely.
get a second set of eyes on your LinkedIn. I've done that, to what you said earlier. I've done that multiple times throughout my career. I still have folks in my network, Mandy included, that will look over my content and my LinkedIn and make sure it looks good. I love the advice about using recruiters. So many people aren't aware of that as a tool, as a lever to pull to get the right jobs. If you're connecting with recruiters, and also if you're adding value in some ways, and I could do I will be doing a whole podcast actually talking to some SaaS recruiters and getting their take
Awesome.
on how to land top roles in the industry. But a few things you can do is just add some value. I mean, even if it's a position you're not interested in, introduce them to someone who might be. And then what happens is you start to build this Rolodex, if you will. I know that word is kind of antiquated, but you build this network, this Rolodex of recruiters. And then when you're ready to make a move, or you're looking for that next opportunity, you can go check in on all these people. And again, they get commissioned on placing sellers in roles. So if you can leverage that relationship, and it's win-win, because they're getting a cut of your landing in this new role, and you can use them to get into companies that you're interested in working for. So I love that. I love reaching out to the decision makers, which is the hiring manager, and sending them over just something short and concise that says, here's what I can do for your company based on the work I've already done. That's literally the job, is reaching out to people that make the decisions, presenting, again, clear, concise ways that you can help. And that will blow a lot of people's minds, and really will help you stand out from the crowd in the interview process. And then the last thing that I'm sure you probably do too, because we had the same mentor that told us to do this all the time, which is you write a thank you letter. If you can do it on pen and paper. It's a little bit harder today now that everyone's working from home. I used to do that and send it to the corporate offices, but now that nobody's in the office, it's a little more nuanced, and you got to get a little more creative. There's tons of ways you can go about this, but always write a thank you email at the very least, preferably a handwritten thank you note if you can figure out how to get that to the in person. But those are, in my mind, all of the steps you need to take. I have a whole other thing that we don't have time to go into that I've been doing, I've done in the past, that helps really set me apart as a candidate. And I'd be glad to share that at some point. But anyway, thanks for sharing that. Again, I'm always so impressed. I've been so impressed by the companies that you've ended up at. And I know that experience has helped you position yourself now to move into self-employment. And it's given you not only the clout, but the network and the credibility to go out and build your own business, which is super cool.
And I think, importantly, on top of that is just, I've had a lot of great mentors, obviously,
Yeah.
like always been encouraged by you, Jesse. And I've had some amazing leaders, that I'm still close with to the day. Shout out to Rob Brenner, who's my boss at Outreach. I
Yeah.
think it's so important to have that support network encouraged. And it's been a really fun ride. And, I guess my like ending advice to everyone is, if you're thinking about, doing anything in terms of like owning your own thing or going for that big job, maybe you really want to work at Salesforce or Oracle, you just really want to get in there, go for it and take these tips and tricks that Jesse and I have shared, because the thing is you're not going to regret it. Just don't be scared and go for it.
Well, awesome. Mandy, thanks again for coming on the show and sharing an update with us. We will absolutely be having you back on again soon. And best of luck as you grow your consulting firm.
Thanks, Jesse. You have an awesome week. This was fun.